Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile discussion. There is a real tendency with Path of Exile to come up with really uninspiring names for some of the biggest patches. 3.22.0 B for Bravo hotfix. This sounds like a nothing burger, but it's actually the most significant patch since Trials of the Ancestors dropped, and it has a number of changes to the reward structure for the Trials of the Ancestors, and also a number of changes to the most dangerous of the enemy mobs. And this is definitely for the best because the League mechanic has been well received in terms of most people, not necessarily everyone, but most people find the actual tournaments themselves to be quite a lot of fun. However, most players who are interested in min-maxing their loot are feeling that they should probably not do the League mechanic because they'll be able to get more rewards elsewhere. And this patch addresses that imbalance somewhat. So firstly, there is this line, improve the scaling of rewards offered for higher rankings. Non-final matches now have a chance to offer rewards that can usually only be offered on the final match. The chance of this occurring slightly increases as the tournament progresses, and also increases with your ranking. So this means that a number of the things you could only get in the final match, such as honoured tattoos, these can now be theoretically awarded earlier. But much more significantly, the chance to be offered some of the more valuable reward options has been increased, and increased the stack size and stack size variance of currency and scarabs that are offered as rewards. Now what players who have been doing trials at 500 plus ranking have been reporting is that now they're starting to get much larger stack sizes. So instead of getting 5 chaos, you're getting offered 20. Instead of being offered a gilded scarab, you're offered a winged scarab. All of this means that both the increased time investment and also the increased chance of failure for the higher tier tournaments are now starting to pay off a little bit more. There will still be a sweet spot for each character in terms of the best rank for them to be at, and the more powerful your character is, the higher that ranking is likely to be. Additionally, in reward balance, divination card rewards now have varying stack sizes, and the cards that are offered now improve as the rounds progress. Now when GGG say that divination card rewards improve, what they mean is that you start getting rarer cards. This doesn't necessarily correlate to them being more valuable. For example, the Fortunate is a more valuable divination card than the Offering. However, the Offering is considerably more rare, and as a result, this change may actually decrease the amount of Fortunate cards you get in favour of getting more Offerings, but at the same time it will also mean you have a higher chance to get an Apothecary, a higher chance to get a Brother's Gift, all of these sorts of things. So that's what they mean when they say that the cards improve. The bias against the rarest cards in the game will be decreased. Additionally, you can now be offered 3 to 5 of a random tattoo from the relevant tribe as a reward for the final match in the tournament. Now this is going to have a really interesting dynamic in Trade League. If you're a solo self-found player, this is 100% buff, and it's a big buff. But if you're playing in Trade League, this may actually mean that the market for those tattoos may end up becoming completely and utterly flooded, and they may end up not really worth very much as a consequence, because there's only so much demand for them, and once that demand is met, the rest of them just end up not selling. This is going to be even more so the case with the stack size and stack size variance of currency and scarabs and the increased rarity of divination cards. All of these factors are going to pull more people into running Trials of the Ancestors content, which is going to generate more tattoos into the Trade League economy, and that's going to cause those tattoos to individually be worth less, and potentially being worth so much less that they end up not really being exciting drops anymore. That said, that's a single countervailing factor against an overall patch that's full of buffs, and as a result, I think you will find that you get much more loot out of the Trials of the Ancestors. It's just that it'll be a reduced percentage of that wealth that will be in the form of tattoos. Next we come to the balance factors, and the big ones here are that enemy teams can no longer have more than one Titanic Shell Warrior. These are those inexorable death turtles that are absolute wrecking balls. And also, the Rongokurai tribe now overwhelm only 30% physical damage reduction, previously 50%. This still puts the Rongokurai as somewhat of a counter to players who invest heavily into physical damage reduction. For example, if you're playing a character that has high physical damage reduction, maybe you're a Juggernaut, maybe you're a Chieftain that's using the Formless Flame, in either of these situations, you're going to find the Rongokurai are probably still your worst matchup, but they're not likely to be as bad as they were before. Next, significantly lowered the damage of the Goliath of the Knight's Earthquake skill. This was the big one-shotter if you're going up against the Rongokurai. It's something I discussed in an earlier video. I thought that it would probably get nerfed, and it looks like it has been. Additionally, a few other outlier abilities are being nerfed, so reduce the range from which Storm Conduit can use their Lightning Beam, lowered the damage from the Trawler's Fish Trap skill, and players and warriors that have been prevented from reviving for 10 seconds through the Consuming Kunkun's Spirit Consumption or the Hinakora's Horn's Spiritual Capture skills, these will now have a 10-second respite period where the revive cannot be prevented any further. Finally, the Sunset Sage Warrior is now better at channeling ancestral totems. So these are the main changes. All of these have been live for approximately 5 hours as I'm recording this video, maybe at least 6 at the time that it's uploaded. And additionally, there's a number of bug fixes in this patch, although they're probably at the less significant end. The other thing that's important is that if you've been in the Trials of the Ancestors the entire time since the patch, what you're going to want to do is spend 15 minutes outside the Trials of the Ancestors so the old instance closes, or alternately you can force create a new instance. Anyways, those are the changes in 3.22.0 for Bravo hotfix, one of those patches that's much more impactful than its name would indicate. One thing I will put a link to down in the description below, there is an amazing Reddit post from a player who got to about 900 depth very, very early in Trials of the Ancestors with a really ingenious strategy using minions who are not spec'd for damage, but who are instead spec'd for crowd control through effects like knockback, chance to flee and the like. That information will be linked to down below. It's a really smart strategy and it's definitely been working for them. If you're interested in replicating that, it'll have all the information you'll need to do that. And if you're just someone who loves seeing some of the weird ways people break the game, then it'll be interesting for that as well. Otherwise, I'm going to leave it there. May your Valobs have interesting results and I will see you around.